If you love the NuPhy Air 75, then you're gonna love their new keyboard, the NuPhy Air 60. It's basically everything boiled down into a 60% keyboard for the most optimal space to function ratio. And just like the Air 75, the Air 60 still has that same slim frame design with a clean two-tone aesthetic of black and silver for the case. The bottom is made of a lightweight plastic with thin rubber feet, and you have a NuPhy badge that looks like a weight, but it's just there for branding purposes. And surprisingly, you get some extra feet just in case your feet somehow wear down. And thankfully, the Air 60 retains its coolest feature, which is having magnetic kickstand feet that go over the thin feet. So you can go from a 3.5 degree typing angle to a comfortable 6.5 degree typing angle. For our interface, we get two tactile sliders, one to change OS functions and the other is to control connectivity. And when we turn the corner, we can see our USB-C port. This keyboard does come with a right angle braided cable as well as a shorter straight cable. And between the interfaces of the Air 75 and the Air 60, I definitely prefer the Air 75s because the USB-C port is at the top of the keyboard instead of the side. We also still have those awesome LED indicators where the right one seconds as a battery indicator and the left one works as a caps lock indicator. And although this is a 60% keyboard, we're getting the 64% layout, which I think is a great idea because who needs a long right shift key when you can have 3 extra functional keys? Moving along, we also have Bluetooth connectivity on this keyboard. If you press function Q, W, and E, you can connect to 3 separate Bluetooth devices, and if you press function R, you can connect to a computer via a 2.4G receiver. Now moving on to the keycaps, they may look kinda plain, but thanks to the mint green escape key, the mandarin orange enter key, and the lemon yellow spacebar, we get that real tasteful aesthetic. And these keycaps are called Coast keycaps, which are ultra thin PBT keycaps with no shine through, and they're basically like flattened XDA keycaps with a cherry stem, and they've got a good amount of thickness for a good typing sound. We also have the secondary functions labeled on the number keys. These are default Mac settings, but if you change the OS to Windows, they automatically become F1 to F12. The quality of the keycaps are great, and they also come in these individual sets to put on your favorite low-profile keyboards, assuming you're not using a low-profile Keychron keyboard, because those keyboards have staggered stabilizers, so any of the longer keys like the spacebar and the shift key are not going to be compatible. But for keyboards with regular stabilizers, whether it's low profile or high profile, you can use these keycaps right here. They look nice and they feel nice. The home keys are also for Mac OS, but you get the appropriate Windows keys to replace them. As always with a low profile keyboard, I always recommend getting some tactile switches over some linear switches, just because the properties of a linear switch plus low key travel tends to create a very mushy typing experience that's not very satisfying and actually becomes worse if you try to loop the switches. But for tactile switches, you're continuously getting some feedback as you're typing, which is what makes it feel great. And for this particular keyboard and its low profile Gateron brown switches, the bump is actually at the very top of the switch, making the tactility feel even stronger and even more satisfying to type on. We also have some factory lubed plate mount stabilizers that actually sound pretty decent, but you can definitely go the extra mile and lube it yourself to make it sound even better. But for the switches, I would not recommend lubing them because the housing clips are not standard and you'll be spending more time trying to open these switches than actually lubing them, so it's not really worth your time. And honestly, even without lube, there's almost no audible spring ping and the sound is pretty solid for a stock board. This keyboard is also Hotswappable with RGB LEDs underneath, but because the plate is such a dark color, the LEDs don't really look all that bright, even in the dark. But you do get a decent outline of the keycaps thanks to the LEDs. There's also a bunch of LED patterns that you can choose from just like the Air 75. And the only difference between the two boards is that right now the Air 75 does have a software for you to remap keys and change RGB control, but it should come to the Air 60 pretty soon. There's also this folio case that you can buy if you plan on taking this keyboard on the road. It looks pretty nice and it'll give you a little bit of protection too. Overall, the NuPhy Air 60 is a great keyboard just like the Air 75. It still keeps that same sleek design, very minimalistic,
It's got nice RGB lighting, nice LED indicators. It's got nice switches that sound pretty good right off the bat, and you don't have to mod the keyboard much to make it sound great, if any. You've got Bluetooth connectivity of up to 3 devices at once, plus 2.4G. You've got compatibility with Windows, Mac, and probably Linux, and the only downside with this keyboard is that remappability is still not a thing. But hey, small form factor, nice pricing, and it's got arrow keys. Let me know what you guys think about this keyboard down below. Links to buy will also be in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.